Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right. Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics and Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. How's everybody doing today? I trust everybody is okay. Anyway, folks, we are going to have a great show for you today. All right, let's see who we've got in the house so far. We've got, you took back your reign in space, Michael. Michael Rudden came in numero uno today. Second by Michael Rudden. Third by Michael Rudden. We also have E2247 in the house. E2247 says, Egberto, play this. No music in Solidarity 326. How to be America's BITCH. How long is it, my brother? Let me go ahead and check that out to our good E22. Oh, that's a good. Wait, no, actually, I don't know. Let me go. Let's see what I can do here. Bear with me 1 second. All right. Okay. That is good. That is good. All right, brother. You got it. You got it. All right. Let me introduce a few people first, and then we'll go ahead. Let me move this over to that screen. Let me largen the screen a bit so that I'm all ready to go for you, E2247. I don't think I've ever played a video that you suggested that I play, brother, but we're going to do it. We're going to do it. We're going to do it. Anyway, welcome aboard, Amikalai. How you doing, Vegan Cindy? Paula Barrasta. We have Leslie Leopold. What should I say? You know, I've already started telling people to be prepared, Les. Be prepared. Les is releasing a book, an important book, folks, that's going to start the revolution. And by the way, Les, if you want to kind of call in and say hi to the audience, remember this is not only Substack or YouTube or Twitter or whatever, but otherwise, the number is 281-823-7747. Again, the number is 281-823-7747. Let's see. But yeah, you can call in if you want to before we get started with what we're going to cover today. Preston Juvenal, welcome aboard. Mary Fernandez. Joe, how you doing? Joe from Los Angeles, here in the morning and in the afternoons. She gets up at 4 in the morning to catch the show, given that she's on the West Coast. I love you, girl. Love you to death. El Denouve on our other chat. Michael Rodney says, Egberto, could you please play E2247's piece? I'm going to play it. You didn't have to tell me to play it. I mean, it's a good one, right? But anyway, E2247, realize that you have Brother Rudnin out there looking out for you. All right, who else have we got here? AVQ has quite a bit of shorts that he wants to check out as well. We'll do that after I play the video of the day. Okay, the video of the day is about empire. You guys are going to want to see this one because it happened on Donald Trump's press conference today. It drove me, my blood's been boiling. I try to keep it light. Don't want my pressure to go up higher than it needs to, but we do it. Anyway, let's go ahead and listen to let me make sure that I have this all connected right. Because, we've been having a few problems getting the videos on this to work. So let's go ahead and try it. I'm going to cover my face up. And here we go. Con esto lo vamos a hacer. ¿Está bien?
From the Australian government. In today's episode of How to Be America's Bitch, we look at how US mining giant Alcoa has been strip mining WA's unique Northern Jarrah forest for bauxite and turning it into this illegally for 15 years. So of course, Federal Environment Minister and sentient meat pie Murray Watt knew what to do. No, not enforce the law. Fine Alcoa fuck all, then reward it with a national interest exemption that lets Alcoa keep mining for bauxite. What why is this in our national interest? It's not silly. It's just that bauxite, as well as aluminium, can also be used to make gallium, a key material in military weapons. Remember that critical minerals deal we signed with this unhinged shitgibbon? Well, the shitgibbon needs gallium to start a religious war to distract from his pedo friend. I mean, liberate Iran. And here at the Australian government, we're doing our part. How to be America's bitch. Would you like to know more? Here at the Western Australian government, we're doing our part by letting Alcoa shit on our laws, even if it means poisoning our drinking water. Visit Perth, the city of 2.4 million that's already facing a water crisis. So when our own water authorities rejected Alcoa's plans and warned that contamination of our reservoirs is certain, Roger ignored them and let Alcoa mine in Perth's water catchments anyway. Fuck you, Perth. And now, a word from our sponsor.
Hi, I'm from Alcoa, here with the facts. Like the fact we plan to mine another 27 king parts of this endangered species habitat. Fuck you, black cockatoo, even though it's already on the brink of collapse and a critical carbon sink.
Fuck you, world.
You may have seen our ads claiming that we rehabilitate the forest, but the fact is, once the bauxite's removed, Jarrah forests don't come back. Neither do the crocus, noombats, and whatever these freaks are, which is why the number of hectares we've actually rehabilitated comes to approximately fuck all.
Some say letting a US company bypass our laws to destroy an irreplaceable forest, driving species extinct and poisoning our drinking water so this psycho can bomb primary school kids is bullshit. But we call it How to Be America's Bitch. The only ones who can stop this shit fuckery are the people of WA, where the government will soon decide if Alcoa can keep doing this for another 20 years. So whatever you do, do not join this march in Perth to tell Trump and Alcoa to piss off from the Northern Jarrah forest. Because we wouldn't want to anger dear Supreme Leader now, would we? Australian Government. Authorised by the Department for Needs.
Oh my God. Oh my God. You know, that is, you know how expensive it is to produce something with that kind of quality. That is so good. Thank you, E2247. All right, before I get into the program also, it seems like Brother Radnin has some good ones as well. Half-century decline of the middle class. I hope I'm going to hit the right button for that one. Let me see how he arranged. You know, Michael, you should put something that let me know exactly which is which a little bit better, because the way it comes into the chat, it's not quite immediately. Trickle down after trickle down comes half a century of the middle class. I think this is the one. All right, that's the one that turned me on. So let's go ahead and do that one, because that seems like a good one when we're talking about the middle class, etc. Así que lo vamos a hacer ahorita mismo a un lugar. By the way, folks, give me a call if you want to, 281-823-7747. Here we go with the other one from Brother Radnan.
The American dream died. How did the middle class die? I'm going to tell you, it started in the 1980s with trickle-down economics that did not work. They decided to give tax cuts to the rich and corporations, saying that money would trickle down. It didn't. It just made the rich richer. Then we greenlit stock buyback. So instead of, when the productivity was going up, instead of giving workers more money, they just bought back their stocks so the shareholders could make profit and the executives could get bonuses. Then we had leverage buyouts, and the government didn't regulate leverage buyouts, and that was the start of private equity basically buying up everything so that they could make more money. Then we moved away from pensions to 401ks, which essentially just took the responsibility and accountability of the company to take care of their workers with the retirement and put it on to individuals, but we were never taught economics in high school, so how the are we supposed to know about compound interest and investing? But they may said the 401k was better than the pension when it wasn't. Then they started shipping our jobs overseas, building the middle class of other countries so that they could make more profit, destroying the middle class here. Then we started ramping up the borrowing money and getting into debt as a country, which devalues our dollar. And then in 2008, we had predatory lending, which crashed the housing market. over so many Americans, and then we used taxpayer money to bail out the banks, and when all the houses were cheap, the rich went and bought those up, and that's when you started to see the rent start to increase around the 2010s into the 2015s, and then in 2011, we allowed super PACs to exist, so billionaires can now buy elections, and they use that money on attack ads, which divides the country. Divide and conquer, and that's what they did. In 2020, we had the pandemic, which both sides of the aisle handled like absolute shit, shut down all small businesses, all the money went to the top, the rich got richer, they printed trillions of dollars more, which people needed, but what did all the people do? We spent the money because we needed to spend the money, and where did that money go? To the top, and they got richer. And lastly, they decided during the pandemic, let's lower the interest rates on buying a home to 2.5% to 3% so that people could refinance and get ahead. But no, all that really did was give the green light to a bunch of rich people to basically borrow free money and buy up all the housing so that we can no longer own a home. And that all ended in 2021. Then we've experienced 25% inflation since the pandemic, and we no longer have a middle class, and the American dream is dead.
I mean, how could I say it any better? Now, I wish he had kind of expanded a little bit on the 401k, also on productivity, because what happens with the productivity line is that the first time I looked at that productivity line versus the wages was when Dr. Economist Richard Wolff was on the program. Actually, I went to see, no, that wasn't it. It was actually when I went to see Capitalism Hits the Fan. And look that up, guys. Look that up. Capitalism Hits the Fan. That will give you an entry into a whole lot of my thought process, and those of us who are willing to come straight out and say capitalism is a failed economic system that is unsustainable. The mathematics of it says so. Now, why is it that so many people are resistant to buy into it? I want to play something that we did yesterday. I cleaned it up quite a bit because it was all over the place, and I cleaned it up the best I could. But I want to play this again for those of you who weren't here yesterday to hear how somebody on the right, the level of indoctrination that has us in this conundrum. And I shouldn't even say conundrum. It's actually worse than that. I am trying to fix a cue here to make sure that you all can hear it. And I call the clip an enslaved caller. I know some of you heard it already, but I think it's worth to listen to understand why and how the mind, an enslaved mind, hurts all of us. Let's check it out. Again, like I said, I cleaned it up from yesterday. Go ahead. I can hear you now.
You're talking bad about billionaires.
I definitely am talking bad about billionaires. Yes, sir.
If a person pays you a fair wage,
Yeah. What's a fair wage?
then $22 an hour.
How is that a fair wage?
Is that enough for you?
No, it's not. It's a fair. No, it's not a fair. Let me tell you what's a fair wage. Let me give an example, right? Let's say the service that I provide to a corporation, right, makes that corporation $1,000 per hour that I work, right? Are you with me so far?
I'm with you.
Okay. Now, if that corporation is making $100 an hour and he pays me $20 an hour, I am responsible for bringing in $100 an hour. So therefore, what he keeps is called my excess labor. And he is choosing to keep 80% of my excess, or rather, my excess labor is 80% of the entire amount garnered. So no, it all depends on what is made. And what I'm saying is a billionaire became billionaires because
that's none of your damn business.
Why isn't it? It is my business. I'm the one doing the work. Why isn't it my business? I am doing the work, sir. I am doing the work. He couldn't do it.
You don't get a piece of the action. What are you, the damn mafia?
No,
You're
listen.
Mafioso.
No. Who gives
You're
him the right
mafia.
to monopolize on my money, sir? And you see, you have a slave mentality, brother. That's a slave mentality where you said,
don't.
Sir,
you have a mafioso.
Open your mind.
I'm not going to open my mind.
Okay, then we don't have anything to talk about if you're not willing to open your mind. But what I'm trying to tell you is you just shows how the indoctrination and slave mentality works, brother. But anyway, let me go on with the show because you're in what we call in immutable. Thank you, brother. You have a great day. All right, let me tell you something. Believe it or not, that caller right there is the mentality that we must fight. There are a lot of folks who the Powell memo has taught people how to hate unions, right? The Powell memo that I always speak about has taught people how to hate unions. Okay. Now think about this. The corporations all have unions, all of them. They call them the Chamber of Commerce, where they get together to work together to give them more power. All these different groups have unions. They just don't call them unions. But when workers get together so that they can have a stronger hand to say, no, if I am working for you and you're making $100 on my back, you're not going to just pay me $20. But that caller that just called in, that is what an enslaved mind sound like. Massa, thank you for giving me $22, Massa. I appreciate you, Massa, for giving me that $22, even though you are using my slave labor to go ahead and make all this money and become a billionaire on my sweat and blood. I go to college for years, and Massa comes and he says, I want your work, and pockets the difference. And look at how this guy with a slave mentality thinks. I am a mafioso for wanting more of my own, of the money that I earned. Think about how this guy that just called in thinks. I am the mafioso for wanting more of my own money instead of the business owner being the mafioso for scamming me out of most of the money. I want you to think about how indoctrinated and how effective the Powell memo is. And sir, when I call you a slave mind, I am not saying it to be insultive to you. I'm saying it because that's what you are. And you can get out of being slave minded. The fact that I made the money, and for wanting more of that money, you call me the mafioso and not the employer who is shorting me most of that money, shows you how distorted the mindset is.
I'll name you a CEO.
What's that?
Not a parasite. I'll name you a
CEO is a parasite. Did he do any work?
They take the risk.
No, they
don't.
Get
no piece of the action. Yeah, he did
No,
work.
they do not. Okay,
He
again,
did
that is
work.
where, hold on a second, Glenn. I mean, that is where ignorance come in. CEOs do not take risks. Let me teach you a little bit something about what profit and loss looks like. Okay? And sir, I want him to stay on the line to learn this stuff. Sir, be quiet so you can learn something. Here's the deal. Whenever a company loses money, let's say company A CEOs build a product and they lose money. Let's say they build product number 2 and they make money. The losses that they have are always offsetted by the profits they make, so that ultimately they don't lose any money. It happens with the drug companies. They lie to you and you believe the stuff. No, they do not take risks. Every drug company that releases a drug, the drug was already developed at universities or paid for by you, the taxpayer. And only after that drug becomes viable do they take it up and market it up. We pay twice for drugs. What I'm saying, Glenn, is the following. I'm trying to tell you the following. Open your mind and accept some critical thinking here. It is important. The reason we have a Trump that's given us $4 and $5 gasoline is because guys like you have voted for imbeciles, because you have allowed them to take advantage of us. All right? Now, keep listening to this show.
He puts his money. He puts his money up on the line.
And what did I? Okay, I'm going to hold on to you a minute. Okay, he put his money on the line. I put my body on the line. Which is more important, my body or his money? When I build a bridge, I am putting my body. My body is on the line, not the guy who puts his money down. He risks his money. I risk my body. So you believe in capital more so than you believe in humanity. You see, that's a problem with our brother. The problem with our thinking is that we think about, he put up his capital. Okay, good. I put up my body. That guy that is working in the oil company and the oil plants, cleaning the benzene out of those tanks, he is putting up his health. But somehow, because the other guy puts up his property, put up his capital, it's more important. That is what they have taught you to think, Mr. Williams. They have taught you to have a slave. Go ahead.
Who's going to start a company if they're not going to make more money than the dumbass
You know what?
sweeping the floor?
You know who will start a company?
deep
The way it works in other places that people start company because they make some money from starting a company. Stop buying into the crap that you hear from the Powell memo and start listening to programs like mine that you can learn something and that you can execute on what you've learned. I got to go. Thank you very much, sir. Hey, Canada, I also have to go to place another video. Okay?
You
Thank-
granted.
All right. Now you see the problem that many of us have for low information listeners, and I respect everybody, including that low information caller that just made that call. But we have to not give them a pass. We cannot, for being nice or civil, not simply tell them the truth. Our brother, we love him, but he has the mind of a slave. I made a comment to the guy. Maybe he wasn't listening. He said, that guy came in and risked his money. It's capitalism. And I said, but you are risking your body. You are risking your limb. You're risking your arm. It shows that we have been so indoctrinated that it is more important for that his master's money than his own health. That is a shame. And you know what, Bobby, the most hurtful part about the entire thing is that the know-how doesn't belong to the capitalists. The know-how belongs to all of us. Each of us are in the game. So it is really a collective. They can't make it without us. They are dependent on us. When I created something, I created a lot of products. I didn't do that on my own. I had to learn that. I did that because everybody was a part of it. And that is where I got this. I understood this morality. You see, that rugged individualism is nothing more than parasitic theft. All right? Because, I always tell the story. I came from Panama and I came to the University of Texas, got my engineering degree, worked for corporate America for 5 years, and then went on my own and developed software for all kinds of companies, etc. Wow, big shite, right? Hell no. Let me tell you, when I sat down and you get off your high horse and you start to think, I remember having a show several years ago, and I told this story. And a guy called in, and when he called in to cuss me out about my thought process about, believing in something like, I'm not going to use a term, but you know what term I believe in, collectivism. And then when he was done, I looked at him and I said, thank you very much for being a part of making me who I am, for being a part in making me from learning, from engineering to all of that. And he was shocked. And I said, you see, you pay taxes, and everybody listening to me right now pay their taxes, and you don't decide who those taxes go to, listeners. You don't. Some people, we as a collective elect people who then go ahead and put that out, and they put out wherever they get the most, pressure to do things. But ultimately, hello, Paul Fleming. How you doing, my brother? And LBW, La Profesora, is in the house. Welcome aboard. John Cotter, the guy who has those big birds in the sky. One of these days, you need to fly me in one of those big jets cockpit on that jump seat. Can you ever do that? Or is that illegal? I don't know. But I'd love to do that to see how it looks like in front of that inside of the cockpit, John. Anyway, so when we get off of our high horses and realize how we are all interdependent on each other, and the people that are least deserving in our economic system, it turns out that the people that are least deserving in the aggregate are the ones who have the most. And I sit down and think about that sometimes. Sometimes I think about that, and I think about why. And let me tell you what I came up with. And listen to this well, and then I'll go to the video of the day. When you're an engineer or a developer, you spend your time developing software. You spend your time debugging software. That's what I used to do. Or when you are a secretary, you spend your time helping those who you are being a secretary for, the paperwork, etc. You have something to really do. If you're a garbage man, you're out there on the back of the truck picking up that garbage and throwing it into. All these are extremely important jobs. From the garbage collector to the engineer to the doctor to the lawyer. Very, 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 very important jobs that society could not live without. But when you are a CEO and when you are just a stockbroker or whatever, your only job is to think of the next scam. I want you to think about that very well. Other people are doing things. When you're a CEO, now there are good CEOs, now don't get me wrong. A good CEO forms a part of the collective of that company, right? And they work collectively with the company, and he acts like a director, right? Okay, I do the jobs that unite all the different parts of the company. And that's what they do. A good CEO. But when you talk about venture capitalists and when you talk about those guys who you remember one of the guys who came on, I think this guy that I have on the screen, that E224. No, actually, I think it was Rudnin that told me to play this guy here. When he goes out and talk about those companies that do stock buybacks or those companies that leverage other companies, all they are doing is scamming. How can I make money on other people's back? Let's look at the Toys R Us story. Toys R Us was a successful company in the black, had a lot of assets, etc. And what did I think it was Mitt Romney's company, to tell you the truth, that screwed them. I could be wrong, but it was one of those companies that leverage other companies. They take out all these loans on these people's assets and extract that money as loans and other instruments, and then leave the company, and the company is responsible for paying all of that back. And what did Toys R Us eventually have to do? Sell out. So we had these supposedly moral capitalists come in and suck the blood out of the company. That's all they do. So when you hear me talk about the stockbroker and the capitalist being parasites, I'm not invoking an insult. Okay? I'm stating that by definition what they do makes them that, and we have the receipts to prove it. The receipts are there to prove it. So, I think it is so important. Red Lobster is another example. Yep. And I can go on and on. That's what they do. Look, think about it. A company is working successfully. They're making a good 3 to 8 to 10% profit, not EBITDA, but real profit. And then somebody goes in and sees their asset, all the assets that they have, see that they're a solvent company, see that a bank will loan them money very easily because they have enough cash flow and assets with which to move. And then you have the it's not venture capitalists, you call them something else. I forgot what you call those companies. He had mentioned it in the thing. They just then come out and take all the cash out of the company. It's a shame. Okay, Michael, I'll take a look at it after the show, brother. Thank you. All right. Today, my brother Trump did some private equity. Thank you, sis. Thank you. Thank you. I've got the smartest listeners born none, man. I'm sorry. I do. I do. I do. Corporate Raiders as well, Commander Cool. All right. I want you to listen to this one. This is a good one. And then we'll take it on the other side. Para ver, vamos a comenzar ahora. Donald Trump conducted his first quote unquote cabinet meeting press conference since the war. And I thought I was in a different realm, a different reality. What he really did is that he inferred that he was a terrorist, pirate, and a thief. And I want you to listen to this, and then let's take it on the other side. But this is completely and entirely mind-boggling. Listen to this.
Are you thinking of taking control of Iran's oil?
It's an option. I mean, I wouldn't talk about it, but it's an option.
Is that something you thought about?
Well, in Venezuela, we've done very well working with Venezuela, certainly. We've taken in billions and billions of dollars. And by the way, Venezuela is doing better right now than they've ever done in the history of their country. And it's sort of like a joint venture. But the United States has made a lot of money, Marco, right? With it. Do you want to talk about that for a second?
About Venezuela?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think Venezuela in the first 2 months of this year generated more revenue from oil sales than they had in most of all of last year. But the money's not being stolen anymore. And it's being held in a U.S. Treasury blocked account. And to the extent it's flowing to the Venezuelan government, it's going to help people, like fund hospitals, pay teachers. It's not
And we
being
get a
stolen.
lot of it. And they got more than they have in many years. Think of it. We get a lot of it. We have a deal. We get a lot of it. We had 100 million, think of this, 100 million barrels we took in the first 2 weeks. 100 million barrels. That's a lot of oil. It's a lot of ships. And we got some and they got some. We paid for the ships. A lot of money left over. And Venezuela has done better now with us. Call it a partner, call it whatever you want. We've made a lot of money, and they've made a lot of money. We've paid for the cost of that military hit many, many times over. And we've only just started. Our relationship with Venezuela has been amazing. The people, actually, I'm the highest polling person. In other words, after the presidency, I think I may go to Venezuela and run for president against Elsie. I may run against Elsie. It's an option. No, they like me in Venezuela, but that's an option for me. It's a wonderful option.
This is troubling. During the cabinet meeting, Donald Trump openly floated the idea that taking, look, this stuff demands a moral reckoning. The reality is, this particular cabinet meeting / press conference, Donald Trump openly floated the idea that taking control of Iran's oil is an option, while boasting that the United States already secured access to Venezuela's oil after removing its president, quote unquote, after kidnapping its president, breaking all international laws, right? This isn't subtle. It isn't coded language. It is a worldview, one that treats other nations not as sovereign entities, but you know what? What does capitalism do again? But as assets to be managed. And that raises a fundamental question. And here it is. Who the hell gave the United States the right to say, your resources are mine, your resources are mine, your government is incorrect, your government isn't following the right policies? Who decided that Washington can determine another country's leadership, control its resources, or dictate its economic future? Because make no mistake, this is not about democracy. When a government claims it will run another country or take its oil, that is not liberation. That is domination. That is domination dressed up as policy. Now defenders will point out to Poland, hey, it's true. Guess what? Donald Trump is more popular than one would believe in Venezuela. And yes, there's one poll suggesting favorable numbers. But let's be honest about what that likely reflects. Reflects hope. Hope from a population that has endured years of economic collapse. Collapse made worse by whom? We, the people of the United States. Well, not we, the people of the United States. Our corrupt government, blockades, and deliberate economic pressures from the United States itself. That's what really collapsed their economy. When people are struggling to survive, they will cling to any sign that relief might come, even if it arrives through the same power that help create the crisis. And I mean, we see that in country after country. This is not ideological support. This is desperation meeting opportunity. And history teaches us something uncomfortable. Uncomfortable populations under stress can temporarily support what again? Outside intervention if they believe it will improve their lives. And that is something we see country after country. But that does not legitimize intervention, folks. It does not grant some sort of a moral authority. It does not erase what again? Sovereignty. Because if this logic stands, if powerful nations can remove leaders, control oil, and justify it with favorable polls, then no country is truly independent. And the question is, are any countries really independent other than the powers without a nuclear bomb? Let's say North Korea, let's say Israel, let's say Russia, France, and these guys. I mean, it almost justifies Iran getting its own atomic weapon, right? Because those are the folks that will be left alone. Those are the folks that really have autonomy, right? So then no country is truly independent. The precedent becomes global. Today, Venezuela. Tomorrow, Iran. After that, who decides? Who decides? The issue is not whether one government is better or worse than another. The issue is whether the United States believe it has the right to decide that question at all. And if the answer is yes, then we are no longer talking about democracy. You know what we're talking about, folks? We're talking about the empire of the United States. And that never ends well. That never ends well. While you have the hubris and everything is going right, you constantly build up the forces that ultimately take you out. We better vote in November. We'd better make the moral vote. We'd better make the vote that will save us all. And man, do I mean that we have got to make the vote that will save us all. Because, look, first of all, Donald Trump is not only an imbecile, he's a madman. He has no capacity to think logically. Watch his press conferences and then watch his sycophants. Yesterday he got another award. They created the Speaker of the House created a special award to give to the President of the United States, an America First award. In other words, hey, this president believes in America First. Wait a minute. Is there a president that doesn't believe in America First? In fact, I know there's only one president that has never believed in America First. It has been Trump first. I mean, just check out the record, right? Check out the record. All right, Paul Fleming says, so European nations gathered $750 million to buy U.S. weapons for Ukraine, gave the U.S. the money, and now Trump refuses to give them the weapons. Separately, the Pentagon notified Congress on Monday that it intended to divert about $750 million in funding provided by NATO countries through the Pearl program to restock the U.S. military's own inventories and then to send additional assistance to Ukraine. I've got to read that article. That sounds like the unraveling. That would be an unraveling. All right. Paul also says Trump on TSA funding. I'm suggesting to the Republican Party, do not make any deal on anything. Congress leaves town tomorrow for 2 weeks. They aren't going to have TSA money before they go. Blame the GO. I think they have to come up. Look, I tell you what. My bet, did the House leave already? I'm not sure. Did the House of Representatives, leave, or is it just the Senate leaving today. My gut feeling tells me that these guys can't go away for 2 weeks and not pass anything. Because it only gets worse as we move further into spring break. I think we're still in spring break, right? Some companies. Michael says, here's an extremely worrisome thought. We are at war with a country that has ties to terrorist organizations while defunding airport security. It's a thought. It is though Trump wants Iran's proxies to hit the U.S. directly so that he can rally the people behind him and escalate the war further. No, that's not what he wants it for. Because the people will never rally behind Trump. Trump maxes out at 40, probably 45% max. And I'm talking when he's doing good things. When people realize that he's responsible for not having health care, not having SNAP, not having all the things that his people use, because his people are generally poorer, much poorer, less educated, etc. So his people use more of the services that he has cut than anyone else. What he would like is a terrorist attack for him to have a rationale to declare martial law and say no elections. I don't think the Supreme Court will allow that one to go through. Although there at that point there will be a fight between whether they disregard the Supreme Court or whether the Supreme Court has the ability to say that declaring martial law is something they can rule on, right? So I don't, technically speaking, if the Supreme Court is supposed to interpret the Constitution and they say that that interpretation doesn't give you the right to do that, one would think you would follow, but who knows? What we have proven is that we don't have an ironclad constitution like other countries do, newer countries, that is, right? So, I mean, there's a lot of latitude to do a lot of shenanigans, and Donald Trump has probably exploited every single one of them. All right. We also have Daigo says, remember why President Obama had to give Iran the nearly $2 billion it was owed when going through the JCPOA? It was because Iran purchased U.S. fighter jets back in the 70s. They gave that money, then the revolution took place, so they never gave them that fighters, the weapons that they purchased. I mean, but our mainstream media made it seem like we were donating money to Iran. And then there's no backstop. You didn't have anybody saying, no, that's Iran's money. We held Iran's money. Let me tell you one of the things that I think is going to crater the dollar. When you start using the SWIFT system and holding on to people's money and all that kind of stuff, people start to lose hope. And like, I don't want to put my money where I think I can't get to it when I really want it. So there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to talk about. Okay, we have a couple more stories. I picked up one in Common Dreams that I think we have the time to cover, but I wanted you guys to check it out. America has become. I want to touch on inflation too, but I think everybody understands what's going to happen with inflation. But this is one that got to me. Let's talk about this one. Let me get it on the screen. It is how the U.S. became the most dangerous country in the world. For those of you who are regular to my program, I always talk about what the United States did to Panama as we lost 10,000 Panamanians. People like to dispute when I use that number, not realizing I know where Chorrillo is. That's the place where Bush number 2 bombed the smithereens out of. And I know that the what you call those things, the forklift and the earth movers just throw those people in holes. We know that. Wouldn't surprise me if some of them got thrown into the sea, but there was complete disregard for humanity when the United States invaded Panama. And, so we've been doing this all along. When people take a look at what Israel did in Gaza and they were so aghast, and it was like, why don't the United States do something about it? Or why is Biden still giving all these bombs to Israel, to Netanyahu? And my answer was simple. the presidency of the United States is but an appendage of the government of Israel. And there's nothing, that's just how it is. I mean, when you have what's a movement, the BDS movement, that if when you have a state like Texas, say that if you do anything to support the BDS movement, and I forgot what BDS stands for, but you know what I'm talking about, that any company that does anything with regards to the BDS movement cannot do business with the Texas government. And you have a lot of laws like that throughout the country, right? That just shows you. But again, when Israel or Netanyahu and his thugs were decimating, committing genocide and criminality in Gaza, people are like, why don't America do something? And when Biden didn't do anything, they forgot no president has ever done anything against Israel murdering, killing, maiming, and genociding. But they wanted to hold that against Kamala Harris, who hadn't even yet served. But because she didn't speak strongly enough to get the wrath of AIPAC, to get the wrath of AIPAC, she didn't speak loud enough. Think about that. We watched it happen all over the world. We watched Panama get decimated, blown to smithereens. We watched the president blow up innocent people in boats in the Pacific and the Atlantic. We watched as there was no problem when we just went ahead and blow stuff up in Nigeria, blow stuff up in Somalia. We never speak about those people as human beings anywhere around the world. We just blew up something in Ecuador, I think it's Ecuador. Supposedly it was supposed to be a plant. It was nothing more than a place where I think they made milk or something like that. So when it turns out that we want America to condemn the government to condemn what we are doing as a country, forget about it. Here it is. How the U.S. became the most dangerous country in the world. The Trump administration behavior leave no room for the common trust on which diplomacy depends. There are only two choices: surrender or strengthen your military in anticipation of war. And guess what Iran did? Strengthen its military in anticipation of war. And who's paying the price of it? We don't know how to fight. We have great equipment. Our equipment knows how to fight for us. But if you think you're going to go into Iran mano a mano and fight these folks, got another number coming. The joint U.S.-Israeli killing of Iranian leaders on February 28 marked the second time in a year that the United States had used negotiations as a decoy for a surprise attack, on a pattern of Germany's invasion of Poland in 1939, our invasion of Iraq in 2003, and Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022. The U.S. under President Trump has indeed launched a criminal war of aggression. The run-up to the war, however, followed a discernible pattern throughout the months preceding it. The Trump administration was testing the American tolerance for just such an adventure. And I think he may have misjudged. But the truth of the matter is, if America goes into your country and says it wants to restore democracy, look out. America restoring democracy in your country is the most lethal thing that will happen to your country. Because in order to do democracy in your country, they bomb everything in sight. Lawless with new laws. Imperial expansion generally comes with the loss of liberty at home. The United States, the Patriot Act, and the process that began that process in 2001, passed by Congress as an apparent response to the fears of a terrified populace just a month after 9/11. And we can't get them to repeal that. We can't get them to repeal that. As of Iran, it has long since acquired for Americans the status of a myth rather than an actual nation and continues to occupy a twisted place in the national psyche. All 52 of the hostages taken in that 1979 revolution were, in fact, released on President Reagan's inauguration day in 81. For him, that was a valuable piece of theater because he paid them off not to release them before. But remember, they all got released alive. They did. And remember what's the genesis of the Iranian Revolution in 1979. Remember that the story, while you listen to Morning Joe and all the other people as far as why the Iran is such a dangerous country or it doesn't like the West, none of that is true. None of that is true. The Persian Empire, I mean, empires are just that, empires, right? But all of them have their good points, their bad point. The United States, good point, bad points. None of them have clean hands, right? Who was a worse empire, the United States or Persia? Hmm. Please think about it, guys. What are the bad things that the United States did as an empire? Let's think about that a bit. We genocided the indigenous people of this land. We brought enslaved people from Africa, bringing them on voyages where a certain percentage of them died after being caught up like sardines and animals on ships. What else did we do? Our founding fathers were responsible for raping their slaves, creating a whole new generation of their own slaves. What else did we do again? We created Manifest Destiny. And what did Manifest Destiny do again? Oh, we said we would control the entire Western Hemisphere. And it allows us to go west and go south. Mm. Later on, as we came into the 20th century, we had the god of capitalism, Milton Friedman, created the Chicago Boys, who went around the entire world and created something known as disaster capitalism, which turned every disaster in every country into a capitalist takeover where many people died. Chile, Allende in Argentina, Perón. I mean, we can go on and on and on and on. On and on and on and on. Hmm. Let's look at other empires. Look, I am not, they all do these things, right? But we do it in a special way. Ours was so evil and destructive in its intent. And the worst part about it is we did it abstractly. What do I mean by that? We did it in a form where most Americans didn't even know. Like most Americans haven't a clue why we have all those immigrants coming to this states. They just come to America because it's they want to be here. That's not why they come. They come because we went down there and we destroyed their economies. That's what they do. They are coming here for a chance because of what we did to their economies, what we've done to their political leaders, the progressive ones, that is. So let's always be careful when we're pointing a finger of what's coming back. You see that? You point that finger, you have the thumb, and all of these coming back towards you. Now, let me be clear. This is not an indictment on Americans. Because you know what? Whether you're an American, French, British, Jamaican, Nigerian, we're all suffering from those that we have allowed to rule us. And it so happened that those rulers, those are the things that they did. And one of the major institutions, or I should say economic systems, that drives this with abstraction is capitalism. You take a look at how it's done. Patrick says the United States has created more refugees than any other country in existence. And you know what's interesting, Patrick? A lot of people may want to look at it as, the ones coming south of the border, but they don't realize that what we've done throughout, for all the raw materials that we get, I was looking at the thing that the brother sent the video, and they talk about bauxite in Australia. At least Australia is big, and you can hide away and look for your bauxite in the badlands and so forth in Australia. But when you go to a place like Jamaica, right off the ocean, you go ahead and you're mining the bauxite, right? And the people not being able to take advantage of it. We have to be cognizant. Haiti, E2247, don't forget Haiti. Of course, if we take a look at Haiti, we take a look at what Clinton did with regards to the duties on rice, killed the Haitian economy by simply forcing American rice into Haiti. So what are they going to grow? But at the same time, we don't mind protecting our companies because, after all, we have 100% tariff or so on electric cars, right? Oh, and that is to protect our car makers to make those electric cars that they refuse to invest enough in. We ought to be a lot more introspective from a point of view as being Americans, and we ought to be a lot more, try to get a lot more informed from around the world. Because if we continue on this path, when you listen to an imbecile for president and the rest of the world sees him, look, Iran should normally look, if this were Obama bombing Iran, in other words, first of all, Obama had no interest in bombing Iran because he understood what a war with Iran would look like. But if it was Obama bombing Iran, I guarantee you that they would want to come to the table quite a bit faster. But they look at Donald Trump as an imbecile. They look at Donald Trump as somebody who simply is not a tactician, but transactional. And that's why you hear about, oh, they gave us 10 boats of oil. I don't exactly know that entire story, but you can bet your life that what they're doing is bleeding him strong. Anyway, we're out of time. I have both of the articles linked into the blog that will be out in a little bit. Don't forget, folks, if you don't have a No Kings rally to go to, make one, even if it's in front of your home. Make one and post it to no kings dot what is it? NoKings.org. Please. We need to get those 12 point something million people out so that we can say we've gotten to the magic number. And what is that magic number, Radnin? 3.5% of the population. Verify that 12.5 is 3.5 of 300 something thousand million people. Hope it is. So folks, es mi gente, vamos a terminarlo así. We're going to finish it this way. I'm going to say, please support the program however you can. Easiest way to support the program is to become a subscriber to our newsletter. And how do you do that? If you are on Substack watching this right now, just click on that subscribe button and become a subscriber. A paid subscriber is even better because you allow us to do things. I'm going to be coming with asking some of you to decide if you want to be producers on some of the interviews that I'm going to do at Netroots in Philadelphia. I need to raise some funds for that trip. So later on, I'm going to be offering some producerships to be named on the videos that we're going to make out there at Netroots. I'm still preparing that right now. I'm getting all my costs put together. But yeah, please become a paid subscriber by going to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Just say subscribe and become a paid subscriber. If you're on Substack, just click that subscribe button. I got to get out of here. First of all, if you want to email me directly, info@politicsdoneright.com. Info@politicsdoneright.com. I love you all. My name is Egberto. Let me see. What's that? Which site takes the least when making donations? The site that takes the least is, let me think for a second. It's actually PayPal, believe it or not. PayPal. So if you want to donate at PayPal, go to politicsdoneright.com/donate, and that'll take you to our PayPal channel. politicsdoneright.com/donate. That takes you to the PayPal channel. All right. Look, folks, let me tell you. We have to stay engaged, and we got to get this done. Love you all. My name is Egberto Willis. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby, don't you? I am what? Out. Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willis. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willis. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.